Oof. We're back. All right. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, he's a lying sack of shit. Lum, I saw you brought up Keith Porter Jr. I cannot believe that we do not talk about him or Marimar Martinez ever. Just ever. It's not in the media. It's not in the news cycle. It's not, it didn't even get a, like, the news cycles are so shortened and abbreviated these days, but it didn't even get one. It didn't even get one. We didn't talk about it for a minute. This guy was, it was New Year's Day. He was shooting off in celebration, shooting off his gun in celebration. That was the story. An off-duty ICE officer, a guy who was not working in his apartment, decided to come out of his apartment, decided to come out and investigate what was happening. No need to do so. No need to do so. Claims the guy turned his gun on him and he shot in self-defense. No evidence of that happening. As far as I understand, there's like no public pressure for a real investigation. As hard as it is to prosecute federal officers, there should be pressure for federal investigation into this. For an investigation, whether it's LA, whether it's California, but for some sort of investigation into this federal officer off duty. So he's not like, in order for it to be protected by qualified immunity, he needs to have done this in the conduct of his duty, in the conduct of his federal law enforcement duty, which it wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. He was off duty. He had no right to do that. He had no right to step outside with armed and approach a man who was not hurting anybody. It was not in the conduct of his duties. Therefore, he is not subject to qualified immunity, and they should absolutely prosecute him for murder. He murdered him. And then Marimar Martinez. Do you guys like this? This one also blows my fucking mind. Marimar Martinez. This was a woman in Chicago who was following ICE officers, making sure that she was documenting what they were doing. They basically, it's awful. It's really awful. It's another story where it's like, so Keith Porter Jr. is black, no coverage. Marimar, she is Hispanic, no coverage. When black and brown people's bodies are violated and violenced against in this country, no coverage. It's not going to happen. And that's why Renee Good was such a big deal for everyone, because it was like, oh my God, a white woman was violenced. And now granted, it was a white woman who was another type of minority. She was a lesbian in the moment that her identity as a gay woman was being very expressed by the fact that her wife was present with her. So it's not quite the same as just a straight white woman that happening to a straight white woman, but it is still, I think people were like so taken aback because they didn't expect this to happen. It's literally the thing that you heard since you were a kid, where it's like, at first they came for the Jews and you're like, wait a second, this is happening real time and you're still saying nothing. It's happening real time and you're saying nothing. You heard about it all the time, right? Like all of this pretty modern, relatively recent history. Easier for white cishet to empathize with them. Absolutely. It's easier. For at least the women. I think it's harder for men, if I'm being real. I think men are they are very what is the word? Enraged by the idea that women would be gay. I think that tends to be an enraging idea for men. So Marimar Martinez was following ICE officers, making sure that they weren't doing anything. God damn these ads. And she was, they basically braked short to make it so that she would crash into them. Her car crashed into them, but in like any sort of investigation, traffic violation investigation of that, excuse me, they would be held liable. Their insurance would have to pay in any real world investigation of what happened because they stopped short intentionally so that she would crash into them. She crashes into them, and in the ensuing moments, they get out of the car and the guy just starts firing. He shoots 5 rounds and she is shot 7 times. She survived. This woman survived. She went to the hospital, and from the hospital, they arrested her and took her to jail. Then they pressed charges. So this happened in, I think it was like September, October. They decided they were going to press charges. All of a sudden, all of the evidence started getting really sketchy. The car that the federal agents drove, that was the evidence of her assault, which is they were charging her with assault against a federal officer. The car, instead of being taken in for evidence, was driven to the agent's home first and then taken in for evidence. Chain of custody was completely fucked up. They didn't follow any of the protocols and tried to charge this woman with assault. So what happens? Come November, after preliminary hearings, after some testimony is given, guess what? They dropped the charges because they didn't have any real charges to push against her. So they shot her 5 times, they pressed charges, then they dropped the charges. But not before this guy took the stand and said some shit. He said in a text message that was revealed in during discovery, in a text message, he texted his other ICE agent fuckers and said, where is the fucking text message? I shot 7 rounds, or I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. What the fuck are you talking about? This guy didn't have any administrative penalty, any consequences, nothing happened to this guy. Charles Exum, know his name. He's a motherfucker and he deserves everything thrown at him when it's time for him to go to The Hague with the rest of these motherfuckers. Charles Exum texted this to other federal agents. Now, it's not family that he texted this to. It's not like friends. It's other federal agents, implying that it's not a bad apple. It is a culture. It is institutional cultural rot within this CBP and ICE organizations that is leading him to feel comfortable saying in a text message thread with multiple federal agents, I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your books, boys. God damn. God damn. My God. Is it also this woke? He is. He is. I think he's much more of a private person, and so he doesn't talk about his beliefs, but yes, he is just as, I mean, I think I'm maybe too tuned into the cycle, to the information. So he's maybe not as up on the events as I am, but he's terrified. He's terrified. He doesn't know what to do. And he's terrified for his nieces and nephews. And, it's scary. He's more low key about it. Exactly. Have I ever browsed R Conservative? I have not. I used to like a decade ago, I used to go on like some red pill Reddit. Back before it was like more, I feel like you don't need to go on R Conservative anymore. I feel like you just go on like fucking Twitter, and that's plenty. That's plenty red pill. What's up, Chumbus? Okay, what, man? That's like you go on Twitter and you get plenty of like red pill fuck ass takes. Yeah, but exactly. Every time you have a criticism, they're like, but Obama. And I'm like, yeah, that's also bad. That's really bad. That's really bad. We don't go like, but Hitler also did this. No, that's not like, and I'm not saying Obama is Hitler, but I'm saying like, you don't look at the worst thing someone did and say like, well, I can do that really bad thing because someone else did a really bad thing. No. I'm so sorry, Lump. Man, it's scary. Like they are coming, they are descending on cities like fucking locusts, and they're swarming out and they are just picking people up off the streets and they're demanding to see, like, I've been making TikToks about it, and I like some of my TikToks have reached younger audiences than I anticipated. And I had a couple high school kids message me that were Latina or I don't know. I don't know exactly their background, but they're brown. And a couple high schoolers messaged me saying something like along the same lines of like, I'm scared. What should I do? Or like, my family doesn't think I should be scared, but I'm scared. And like that's horrifying. That's fucking sad to hear, because honestly, I didn't say this, but I think they should be scared. I think they should be scared. Even citizens obviously are not as at risk, but any brown person walking down the street is liable to be stopped by these people. It is happening constantly in Minneapolis. It is happening at such a high clip that it's impossible to even for ICE Watch and Neighborhood Watch people to be out there and notifying. And so they are stopping people on the street if they look brown or black, and they're saying, "Are you a citizen?" Now, that on its own, like, not constitutional, just not constitutional. I'm brown. My mom isn't a citizen. Ugh, see, like, Nushi, that's not something you should have to be scared about, but it is. Yeah. Trans people are absolutely next. Trans people are absolutely on the agenda. They have an agenda. They have their Project 2025 and Project Esther, and they just released this whole like renewal of family values, or I forgot what it's called, but like some issuance that is subsequent to Project 2025 and subsequent to Project Esther, where it's basically reinstating that they are going to make every policy they make is going to be in service of family values, in service of the core nuclear American family. And part of that is obviously like they don't consider any sort of queer formation of family to be family. That's beyond the pale for them. But also they're trying to get rid of no-fault divorce, which, as everybody who's ever studied anything in this space knows, if you, and look, I haven't, but I've talked to people and listened to people who have, if you get rid of no-fault divorce, the rates of abuse and abusive relationships will skyrocket. They will skyrocket. No-fault divorce gave women the ability to walk out, gave women it is insane to try to get rid of no-fault divorce. Insane. It is going to, but that's what they want. They want women to be, it is the preliminary steps towards Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, some women are absolutely going to fucking vote for it. People voting against their own interests is one of the most American things I've ever seen. People voting against their own interests. The number of Hispanic people I've seen be like, I voted for him, but I think it was not a good idea. No fucking shit. The guy who said that everyone that Mexico sends are like murderers. Yeah, I don't think that was a good idea. Any woman that voted for him. My best friend Connor didn't vote. Oh, I hate hearing it, man. And like last election, it was rough. I'm not going to like, I still feel, I don't know, like ambivalent. I still feel empathy for the people who decided to vote third party, who decided to sit out the election. I still get, there were so many Arabs in Michigan, in other areas that said like, no, fuck this. They don't care about Palestine. They don't care about kids dying in Gaza. Why should I give anyone my vote? And I get that. I get not wanting to give your vote to somebody who will just continue the genocide of a race of people who is predominantly under 18. Like 44%, when this started, 44% of Gaza was under 14 years old. That is insane when you think about that. That is insane. And so I get wanting to withhold your vote from anybody who would support the continuing genocide of those people. I get it. I fully get it. And at the same time, I voted for Kamala Harris because I voted harm reduction. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to net out. Maybe there's a reality in which going this far to the right, going this far in the direction of fascism and a blatant white nationalism, maybe that brings us back around. Maybe that gives us a chance to actually enact some progressive and like progressive, actual real progressive reform. Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible that there is a coalition of people who are led by voices like Mamdani and, you know what, Tallarico. Like, I was pretty skeptical of James Tallarico, but I've listened to him a lot now, and I like what he says. And he is packaged in the most appealing way for people who are prone to listen to their most racist tendencies without understanding that those racist tendencies exist. He is the right package for those people to hear the message that they need to hear. So James Tallarico, Mamdani, Rohana, AOC, Bernie Sanders at the helm, all of these people are creating a real coalition that I think has a genuine potential to upend our system and create the kind of reform that we haven't seen in decades, centuries. But in order for that to happen, a lot needs to happen. And I don't know what my role in that is, or what anyone's role in that is. The founding fathers could have never predicted this. Yeah, they were predicated on this recency bias of like, of course, anybody who has come to America and who lives in American ideals will not want power to be so centralized, because the entire founding of America was anti-king. It was, we don't want monarchy. We don't want taxation without representation. We don't want this kind of centralized monarchical authority. And so I don't think they thought about it. They definitely thought about the potential for fascism. They definitely thought about the potential for like what could come of this, but I don't think they envisioned it happening so quick after the founding of the country, like relatively very quick. It has been not yet 250 years and we're already at, and it's not like, you know, Trump is, I would say, the most that has come, but not the only. Yeah. Mamdani is all of our mayors. The history of America has always been two sides. There's a side that broke away from tyranny, but in order to do that, they destroyed the natives. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole hypocrisy of like Trump's letter to Greenland, to the Prime Minister of Norway about Greenland, in which he was like, and who's to say it belongs to those people anyway? Just because a boat landed there 300 years ago? Motherfucker, that's why you claimed America. That's how we claimed this land. Literally what you are saying now is how we claimed this land. So if you're going to cite the delegitimacy of boat landings as a way to claim sovereignty over a land, please recognize that it is going to delegitimize this sovereignty as well. Please recognize that. There's a great video of Bernie visiting. Oh, Beans. I love that video. I think that video was the most hopeful I've been all year, or last year, I guess. That video, if you guys haven't seen it, Bernie, there's a journalist, and I forgot his name, who basically took Bernie to West Virginia. Because I imagine, I don't know Bernie Sanders personally, but I imagine if you want to get Bernie Sanders to go anywhere, you have to take him there. You have to like help him pack his bag and then like get him in the car, close the door for him. He's probably, I just like imagine him to be like a really grandpa, a real gramps. And like, he doesn't just like go, you got to like take him somewhere. But yeah, they went to West Virginia. He took him to West Virginia, and Bernie Sanders just literally talked the same way he talks to progressives, the same way he talks to Democrats. He talked, and West Virginians were not, his voice was not filtered out by the algorithm, there was no Fox News commentary underscoring hhis voice. It was just Bernie Sanders talking to these people. And they were just like, well, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, I do like that. Like it was just so easy for them to hear his message, and transparent to them that like, oh, they have been fucking us and there is a way out. What's up, Twitch? The issue is that the Republicans are all united, but the Democrats are divided. I mean, are you calling me Zan? I'm not Zan. What you got? Motherfuckers. Zan. One day I'm going to dress up as Zan and you guys won't even know. Did Zan raid me? I'm confused. I can't see a raid. Oh, he raided me with a party and I. Thanks for the raid, Zan. I was talking to him earlier and I told him, I said, I gotta go. And he said, you don't have anything to do. And that made me angry. That made me so fucking angry. So then I got on stream and I said, I got shit to do. I got a voice. I'm going to use it. He said, you don't got shit to do. Fuck you. Fuck you. Why were you streaming and why did you have 9 people in your stream? Zan, I use a program called Restream. Those are the people that stay. Wait, you guys just stay in his stream all the time? Is that real? No. What are you talking about? You're fucking lying. There are 9 people don't just sit in your stream. Anyway, you made me lose my. I'm not on. Hashtag on his dick. Offline chatters, really? In Zan's chat? Why would people go to a room that no one chats in to begin with? Oh, and I missed the sub too. Beans, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really appreciate that. God damn, I miss everything. I miss everything. You don't got aura. You got no aura. No aura. But anyway, yeah, Bernie Sanders basically went on the road and spoke to people without any sort of filter or medium filtering out his words, and it fucking worked. People were all about him. People were like, yeah, this is great. I would vote for you. Yeah, I would absolutely vote for you. The message works. The message works. It's how do you overcome the algorithm? How do you overcome the MAGA ecosystem that will fight so hard to not just dilute, but to confuse your message, to make it seem like this is not a viable option. There's such a strong system that is working against just common sense messages that can break through. How do you get past that? That's the question, right? Hillary absolutely fucked Bernie over. Not even a question. Hillary totally fucked Bernie over. I think, you know what was funny is that Bowen Yang of SNL fame, he has a podcast with his friend, and he recently came out, not out of the closet. Everyone knows he's gay. But he came out and said, like, you know what? My biggest regret is how hard I went for Hillary. And I think a lot of people are coming around on that. I think Democrats and leftists and liberals are finally in a place where the critical mass has shifted left, and people will rally around a leftist candidate who talks about things that are universally important and helpful. And but Bowen Yang was like, yeah, I shouldn't have gone so hard for Hillary. I think I drank the Kool-Aid of like, fuck yeah, like, you know, it was a lot of people. I mean, after I voted for Bernie in the primary, and when Bernie lost, I went whole hog into Hillary, and I was like, fuck it, we gotta go in Hillary. We gotta do this. But yeah, she absolutely fucked him over, and it changed the entire course of not just the Democratic Party, not just the left wing of our ideological system, but our entire course. People's lives were uprooted and destroyed, and people were killed because the DNC saw fit to decide who's better for the voters than the voters themselves could choose. It was the I'm with her era. Absolutely. Yeah. Never in a million years would I have voted for Hillary. I mean, I voted for Hillary. I voted for Hillary in 2016, but not in the primary. I mean, in the primary, I was Bernie hard. I was Bernie hard. I was hard for Bernie. I was a big Bernie fan. And when he lost, I was like, well, this is what I got to do. Harm reduction. Right. But I don't know. I don't have a strong answer as to whether harm reduction is right or not, because my current copium is that this moment is going to allow for the big boomerang that will bring, or not boomerang, but like rubber band. I don't know. That will bring a true progressive faction into power and create genuine change. The hope and change shit that Obama promised, I think, is really possible and attainable on the back of this horrible, horrible era, like disgusting era in our politics. And I don't think it's a given. I don't think it's inevitable. I think it is going to be hard fought and hard won. But I think that it is a battle worth fighting, because if not, then we should just fuck off and move somewhere else, right? Then we shouldn't live here. We're all a little Bernhard. Right-wing indoctrination in middle high school in the South is insane. Yes. And not just in the South. Now it is diffused. It is on the internet, right? It is in all the pockets of the internet where young men and young boys are finding acceptance and value in spaces that they cannot find in real world spaces. And then Joe Rogan will turn around and be like, he'll fucking endorse the guy and then turn around and be like, I don't know, he's doing some pretty crazy. Should you see this shit he's doing right now? Like, motherfucker, you told everyone to vote for him after he told you what he was going to do. He released an entire blueprint. Project 2025 was there for anybody to read. It was a blueprint as to what this administration was going to do. Anybody could have read it. And I would argue that the person who hosted the presidential candidate on one of the biggest platforms that exists right now, the person whose platform that is, it's not just something that he should have done. It is his obligation. It was his duty to have read Project 2025, to have fucking looked into what this man was touting before he let him on his platform to just fucking jizz for 3 hours straight. That conversation, I could not. I'm a big proponent of, like, you should watch things that are not, that you disagree with, things that are hard to watch because it helps you like, you shouldn't just inoculate yourself. But I tried to watch those 3 hours of Joe Rogan and Trump jerking each other off, and I just could not. I could not get through it. And now this motherfucker has the gall to be out here being like, I don't know if they should be ripping people off the streets. Meanwhile, dumber than rocks, Theo Von's like, the memes, the White House it's memes. Come the fuck on. Do you think Trump sucked up Rogan like he did Clinton? I think if we go back to the Bubba memes and just go back, if all right, if leftists could align on a meme of the moment and just like really push it, like how like right-wing influencers, you'll look on Twitter one day and it'll just be like they're all saying the same thing, but like different slight variations of the same thing. If we could align, but if this is just trolling Trump specifically, like directly targeted psyop towards Trump, with, I think like Bubba is a good option. I think his response at some point, I think he would get up there and be like, I didn't do that. What I did was, and I think he would just tell us what he did. I think he would just like tell us his involvement to clear up the, like to get, to dispel all the memes. I think he would just tell us what he did. And I think that's what we have to do. I think we just have to go hard in one direction such that it penetrates. He sees it. And then he'll just tell us. He'll just be like, that's not what I did. What I did do was, I think it could work for real. Zan sits down with commentators after winning Genesis. Thanks, Obama. Then he slow claps for himself and walks away. I think he really did it. It all actually makes sense. It's the only thing that he'd be so embarrassed by that he'd rather die. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Who the fuck is to say? What like rich, powerful men do when they feel rich, powerful, and impenetrable? I guess they want to be penetrated. I don't know. We need to penetrate Trump's mind like Clinton did his mouth. Oh man. I think like for all of the terrifying, for all the really genuinely scary parts of what this administration is, there's also just a fragile man at the center of it. And not just a fragile man, because like most despots, most authoritarians are fragile, but a fragile, stupid man, a stupid, fragile man who has very little control over what he does and says. Like his body tends to operate without instruction. And I think we're not leveraging that enough. I think we're not using that to our advantage enough. I think we need to be more intentional in getting him to do the shit that his body is naturally inclined to do, which is just vomit things that like, and in there, we'll find the kernels. I'm willing to go through it to find the kernels. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what all these people have on each other. Putin, the Clintons, Trump, fucking Netanyahu, leader Netanyahu, who now owns TikTok. I don't know. I think they got some real grimy things, some real disgusting stuff on each other. What, Lump? What? Yeah, no, I mean, he doesn't own TikTok, but so as of yesterday or today, maybe, Larry Ellison, the billionaire who owns Oracle, now owns the US arm of TikTok, because basically the whole TikTok ban, and then they were like, well, let's see if we can get Chu, the CEO of TikTok, to sell off the US arm, the US operations to somebody in the US. And who better than a Zionist who Netanyahu, there is a video, there's public footage of Netanyahu saying, well, and Larry will own TikTok and Musk will own Twitter, and these are friendlies. We can absolutely get them to make the algorithm work in favor of Israel. It's just blatant. It's just blatant. Like the extent to which Netanyahu wants to blatantly control our media, it is so upsetting, because Netanyahu is not at all, he does not live the ideals of Judaism, right? Like, I'm not Jewish, but I dated a Jewish man for a while. So I feel like I get it. I feel like I get it. And I get it more than other religions. He does not live the ideals of Judaism. He does not understand the, like, one of the, like, most wholesome principles of Judaism being, like, the value of truth and searching for truth. And like the whole reason, like, kibbutzes exist and people spend so long studying Torah is because they're so, like, almost puritanical in their pursuit of truth. And Netanyahu is so willing to subvert that. It's why, like, any time that people have said, like, Jews control the media, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, no, that's racist. And it's a subversion of what Judaism believes. But Netanyahu went and then, like, turned that back on its head. How is Elon a friendly to Netanyahu when the same group calls him a Nazi and anti-Semite? Who calls Elon an anti-Semite? I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I can show you a specific clip in which Netanyahu says that Elon is a friendly, or he I don't know if he says he's a friendly or he's a friend, but he says one or the other. Here we go. It's pretty absurd.
And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that, but we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important...
What weapon do you think he's referring to right now? What weapon? Because I don't think you guys will be able to guess the weapon.
ones are social media.
Social media.
And the most important purchase that is going on right now is...
TikTok.
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 Number one.
The war criminal says TikTok.
And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. Exactly.
X. Very good. Very good. Class, you understand. You understand how we're going to disseminate propaganda that upholds a genocidal state. Class, good job.
You know, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy.
He's not an enemy. He's a friend.
Talk to him.
We should talk to him. Elon's a friend. Elon's a friend of the Israeli state. We should talk to him. We should figure out how we use social media as a weapon to disseminate propaganda. He said it. He said these words. He said these words out there. And then the app got sold, class, to Larry Ellison, who loves Zionism. Larry Ellison is a proud Zionist. And look, like, I know that there are a lot of Jewish Americans who grew up with this idea of birthright, and birthright was so, like, strongly imbued in people that it's like, well, yes, Israel needs to exist, right? There's a definite reason. We saw it after World War II. There's a reason for Israel to exist. But what is so transparent and so clear right now is that the very structures that caused the need for Israel to exist is now what Israel and this country are enacting. Those same things. The app that got Trump elected. I mean, that and podcasts and everything. Yeah. You can be a Nazi and a Zionist in modern day. Absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. That is what every Jewish American that I've spoken with who does not abide by the Zionist ideals that as Netanyahu has interpreted them, will say that this Zionism is not Jewish. It's not a true expression of Judaism. Madan made a funny analogy. He's like, if you had a membership to Gold's Gym and you leave and it becomes a Planet Fitness, should you get a free membership to Planet Fitness? What do I want to happen to Israel? That's a good question. I don't want anything to happen to Israel. First of all, when you phrase it like that, that sounds very scary. I'm a proponent of a genuine two-state solution. I think at this point there's no reality in which there can be anything short of a two-state solution. Because also, if you think about what is being advocated for right now, you'll make it happen, Synthesis? You would do that? I mean, let's do it. Let's do it. There's every single war that was fought by Israel. Like if you, I took a class on Middle East peace back in like, I don't know, a long time ago. And it was taught by a guy who worked in the State Department under Obama. And his whole thing was like, if you look at the people will say like, okay, this war, like the 1967 war was the Arabs were the first, but every single war that was started, it was between Israel and Palestine. What's up, VP JD Vance? Every single war that was started between Israel and Palestine, it was Israeli aggression under the same principle under which they first came to Palestine, which was that this land ultimately should and needs to belong to Israelis. It is the promised land. Promised by who? People who didn't have the right to promise it. It is the promised land. And therefore every war that happened, people will be like, oh, well, the Arabs did that one. Or like, there was, Arafat was involved in that. But no, every single aggression was Israeli aggression because they were the ones who came in to seek out a land for themselves. And in theory, that sounds fine when you're like, we need a land to be safe because, Holocaust. In theory, yeah. But choosing a land that is populated by an existing population results in the kind of awful terrorist genocide that we have seen over the last 80 years now. 80 years now. Whew, I'm getting worked up. It's scary. It's sad. It's something that makes you believe in humanity less, because when you zoom out, this is not the only conflict where this is happening. This is not the only post-imperialistic destruction that was left behind. But it is the most egregious right now. And yet we're hurtling towards another imperialistic, nationalistic era that we are not prepared for what that will yield, for what that will net out. How is democracy a failed system, JD Vance? Please let me know. We could have given them that fuck-ass unpopulated area in the Sahara. I mean, the thing is, like, we also, when you think about the fact that we have enough resources and wealth in this world nobody needs to be hungry, right? Like, humans don't need to be going hungry. Right now, as humanity, we have enough so that humans aren't going hungry. But the way these structures and the systems are set up is it is to extract value from certain places and to benefit other places. It is the same structures that existed during the height of imperialism. Those structures are still there. It's not that Africa can't. There's this whole memeified moment on Twitter a few weeks ago where they were like, well, it's Africans are not as good at self-determination. Like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. You think Africans aren't as good. The reason right now Africa is the way it is because it is the ruinous effects of imperialism. And those don't just go away when the countries, after they come in and fuck shit up, leave. Because what happens is the system still exists to extract value and send it to the countries that fucked it up in the first place. So all of the best crops, all of the best output from the African nations get exported to people who will pay more for it because they have more money because they were the ones who were imperializing. And those structures were never resolved. Just because they fucked off doesn't mean those structures were resolved. We will still continue extracting value from the formerly imperialized spaces until they have a real opportunity to develop free from the Western nations' fascistic imperialism. But that's not going to happen right now because instead of moving in the opposite direction, we're going like, no more imperialism. Venezuela and Greenland and Monroe Doctrine. And like, this is what is going to make for a good growing global economy in a time where there are genuine global threats facing us on a scale that we have never seen before. Climate change and AI alone. Genuine global threats that need genuine global collaboration and cooperation. And it's, instead of moving in that direction, we're going like more nationalism, more imperialism across the world. Like, it's not just Trump. It's not just Trump, but like Trump is, yeah, he's definitely the most, but it's not just him. The absurd notion that even the more remote areas in Africa don't have water, electricity, medicine, even if they prefer traditional. I know. Technocratic nationalism will bring stability soon. This is a fucking troll in here. Technocratic nationalism. All right. So tell me about technocratic nationalism. Curtis Yarvin? Are you a Curtis Yarvin motherfucker? Is that what it is? Because you know what Curtis Yarvin is? Yeah, you're Curtis Yarvin. Curtis Yarvin does not know the first thing about political theory or history. Curtis Yarvin came up on the teat of Silicon Valley and said whatever would make his Silicon Valley daddies happy. That's all that Curtis Yarvin is. What does Curtis Yarvin actually understand? You know what Curtis Yarvin is doing right now? He's shitting his pants. Go listen to what Curtis Yarvin is saying right now. He's like, oh, we need to go even more fascistic because I'm afraid that in a few years I'm going to get targeted because I said some really stupid things and that weren't backed up by anything. Here, let me show you guys who Curtis Yarvin is, because this guy is a real fucking idiot. And because this alone, the way he poses for pictures, who poses for pictures like that? Who does that? Who does that? Who poses for pictures like this? So this guy, Curtis Yarvin, he is a shallow thinker who is cited by everybody in Silicon Valley, Peter Thiel, all the motherfuckers who want to run their freedom cities in their technocratic nationalistic ways. He does not have any real bona fides from which to be making the very stupid, bold claims that he does. But he basically is like, well, what if America, instead of a president, had a CEO? What if it was a CEO and not a president? Because like CEOs, they get shit done. See, like he's like a boss babe kind of guy. CEOs, they get shit done. And what if we gave, because like, see, but they need more power. So what if we called them a CEO and he had the ability to have final say, and Congress and the judiciary didn't get in the way, because CEOs are big boys. They make decisions. They're big boys who make decisions. And that's basically Curtis Yarvin's theory. That's basically it. That's basically his entire theory, is that the American government should operate like a corporation and should have a CEO at the helm, and the other two branches should be incredibly demonetized. What's up, Liggy? Romney tried that in 2012? Yeah. So, JD Vance, I didn't say he's evil. I'm saying he's stupid. Because he tries to, when CEOs make decisions, they are not thinking about a general public that are stakeholders regardless of whether or not they have invested in the company, right? They're thinking about stakeholders who have a fiduciary responsibility to, right? His speech today from Minneapolis. Wait, Curtis Yarvin made a speech in Minneapolis? No, JD Vance. Yeah, sorry. I'm streaming on TikTok too, and I have a bunch of trolls in here. One of them is named JD Vance. If you try to run the government that is responsible for public welfare the way you run a corporation, what would happen is what we're seeing now, which is where a certain subset of people are well cared for, those people being wealthy elites, and everybody else would be completely forgotten, would be left behind. And eventually what that kind of system leads to, it either leads to massive reforms, like the New Deal, like progressive taxation, income taxation, which happened under Wilson as a result of the Rockefellers and the massive monopolization that had happened in the late 1800s with the railroad magnates. It ends in some sort of reform, which has happened in our country. There's a history of reform happening, or it ends up in revolution. It ends up in people who do not get to recognize the value of their labor, revolting against those who are keeping them oppressed. So if you put a CEO in chief in charge of the government, public welfare would no longer be the top consideration, and it would become based on the whims of that CEO and what he thought was best for usually what ends up happening, the wealthy elite. There are some situations in which there is a benevolent king or benevolent dictator, and those people will rule maybe for a period of time with relative prosperity and peace. But the problem with a system that hinges on the benevolence of a single person is that when that person dies, the system doesn't have there's no system in place to find the next benevolent, perfect person who can run the country like a CEO. So what will end up happening is what is already happening, because we have centralized authority. We have centralized authority not just in the hands of the president, but in the hands of an oligarchy, a wealthy oligarchy who is running what the president does. We've centralized authority here, and they are trying to distract us with race baiting by saying like, no, look at these immigrants who are taking everything. Let's get ICE on the streets. They're trying to distract us with that. They're trying to distract us with trans people being like, look at these people trying to use bathrooms, the audacity. When in reality, the biggest thing that is ailing our society is the value extraction, the wealth extraction that the wealthy elite have almost finalized at this point. And now Greenland, the pursuance of Greenland, right? Something that is on its face absurd, has no national security, no real genuine national security value. The pursuance of Greenland is to further enrich the wealthy elite who are chasing AI and need rare earth elements to continue to arm themselves, to heighten the arms race, and they desire a lack of regulation. What they want more than anything is deregulation. They want freedom to run their companies the way they want to run their companies and not have to pay taxes and not have to do this and not have to have EPA regulations and not care what their data centers emit into the air that we're all breathing. They don't want to have to care about that. So they want to fuck off to Greenland with all the value they've extracted from our country, from our labor, from our infrastructure. They want to go to Greenland with all that in their freedom cities. And again, I said it before, they want law and order here for the plebes. They want law and order. They want ICE on the streets for us, and they want freedom cities for them. That's the fucking truth. That's the fucking truth. I'm okay with woke biology. Yes, sir, I am. Brown people bad except JD Vance's wife. I mean, at this point, I think he doesn't like his own wife either. I think he doesn't like his own wife. What is this picture? Let me see this. Oh shit, I did the wrong thing. I did see this picture. What's up, D-Man? Nice to see you. She's pregnant. That's true. She is pregnant. I don't think it's his. I genuinely cannot fathom a world in which it's his. I cannot. There's no way. There's no way it's his. There's no way. I'm going to say it here. I'm going to say it right now. There's no way that baby is JD Vance's. We'll find out. We'll find out in 9 months or so. But that is if I were to make a bet on Kalshi, the new prediction market that the Trump administration has allowed to exist, where you can bet on our democracy. By the way, is a thing. You can bet on our democracy thanks to Kalshi. Donald Trump Jr. sits on the board of Kalshi, a prediction market where you can bet on the future of our democracy. If I were to bet on Kalshi as to whether or not the baby is JD Vance's, I would bet no, that baby is not JD Vance's. What makes me say that? Because nobody would continue to fuck that man after he debased himself like that for another man who is himself probably quite impotent and small-dicked. JD Vance has debased himself for a man he once called Hitler. He has completely and it's not about masculinity. It's about just human integrity and pride. And he has completely shed himself of that. He has decided that this final form that he has taken does not need any pride or integrity. Pride or integrity is irrelevant in this final JD Vance form. So he has shed himself of pride and integrity to suck off a man who he once called Hitler. And I don't imagine a woman would ever have sex with him. That's why I don't think it's his baby. That's why I don't think it's his baby. We haven't seen her in a while since the inauguration. I know. The last time we saw her was at the TPUSA crazy, batshit crazy event where he and Erica Kirk groped each other for 2 minutes on stage after he told everybody that he wished his wife were Christian. He was like, I mean, do I wish you were a Christian? Of course. Of course I do. The little hedonist fucking Hindu. Of course I wish you were a Christian. But what am I gonna do? Anyway, here's Erica Kirk. Let me give her a nice long hug. I don't think JD Vance touches his wife. He likes his faux leather too much. Yeah, I mean, honestly, as vice president, he has been afforded the number and quality of couches that this man has access to as vice president. Like, you want to talk about what power gives you access to? There are couches that this man has seen that he has never seen in his life. The quality of these couches, you think he's fucking his wife? These couches out here that the vice president has access to? Oof. Too good. He has warehouses of couches. Warehouses. That's crazy. All right. It is getting late. I am going to call it for the night. I appreciate you all stopping by to hang out. This was a bit unhinged and meandering, but if you want to see me again, if you want to stop by again in my lives, I'll be streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 to 11, unless my brother calls me and tries to talk to me for an hour about nothing. By the way, tomorrow at 5 p.m., Zen and Kyle Crudo are going to be doing the world record marathon attempt. So pop in there on twitch.tv/ZanNugmi. That will be a fun time. I think I'm going to stop by at least for a bit. There's going to be a snowstorm, so I won't be able to go during the weekend, but tomorrow I'll be there. And I don't know. I don't know if these guys can do it. They're going to be stuck in a room together for 6 days. It's going to be gross. But yeah, I will hopefully see you guys there, and then I'll be live again next Tuesday. Thanks, D-Man. I'm not live tomorrow. I'm going to be Tuesday, Thursday, just because I'm a little busy, but 8 p.m. to 11 p.m.